We're back again, and I only made one change from last week. There was something about a timestamp. I turned that off, and other than that, it all after reloading Zoom, it seemed to fix my other problem that I had. So maybe, at the moment I don't have any complaints about the way Zoom is working. So we'll just assume I'm happy with that. So the usual reminders, if you go look at the bottom of the video on YouTube, there you open up the description down there. It's got the index of this meeting, and it's got a link to our composite index of several years of meetings. And there's a link to my original ROS Agriculture index that I started. And there's a link to the our YouTube video page, so you can go look at that. So if you take the index page and the video page and use those together, you can go back and search for stuff and just dig through to see what we've been doing. And that it could be a little slicker than what we got, but that's just the way it works at the moment. Anything else that I should say? I can't think so. So I think mentioned in one of the meetings I was trying to do my data logging, and it sure looks suspicious to me that it looked like my entire house is controlled from one water control valve in my bathroom. And then after they came to tinker with the heating stuff, so apparently me poking around screwed up their 50-year-old wiring, and they had fixed the corroded connections. So while they're there, the guy said, "Oh, yeah, in this apartment, everything works on a big loop." And I thought, well, it can't be one big loop because you have to control the temperature in each apartment. So I think what he was referring to is that each apartment is in a big loop. So water comes in from the hallway, goes through my radiator in the bathroom, and that's where the control valve is. And then I think the output of that goes to my bedroom and runs the entire length of my bedroom, then goes through the wall to my living room, goes through the entire length of that one, and then goes out that wall. I thought that's right on the other side of it is the laundry room. I wonder if that's if I am controlling the temperature in the laundry room. And I said, well, I'll have to set up a data logger to check that. Well, instead of that, I finally said, well, because my data logger uses these Dallas temperature sensors. So it's a little thing about what 3/16 of an inch in diameter. It's like a stainless steel probe, and that those I can shove those right into the fins on the radiator. Well, it turns out that I have these other thermometers that they look like this, and they look like this, and you're supposed to like you got a pipe here, so you just screw it into the pipe. So as you walk by, you can see the temperature it is. So they use it like in big industrial things. And it turns out that little probe is about the same size. It's actually a little bigger. But so they're almost the same size. So what I did was I just walked over to the laundry room, took this thing with me and shoved it down in the radiator. And I checked before I walked out to see was my heat on or my heat off. I think my heat was on, so I went over stuck it in there and came back and gave it a few minutes. And then I think I turned my heat off and walked back in the laundry room, and it looked like the temperature in there was dropping. The radiator was dropping. So I thought, well, that's a fairly good indication. So I gave it a few minutes, and then I ran the whole thing again. Then I turned my heat back on, and that one came back up. So I decided, yes, I think the water coming out of my apartment goes into the laundry room and heats that one. And then the more I looked at it, I thought, well, where does that water go? And it looks like it goes through the firewall into the entryway. And in the entryway, there's two more radiators, one on either side of the entry door. And I'm guessing my water goes up through at least one of those. And then the one that's about, 15 feet away on the other side of the door, it's either feeding that one also, or that one gets fed by the apartment on the other side. So it just seems like a really, uh, I guess that's a clever way to do it. Just assuming that if people are living in the apartments, that will turn the heat on and off for these places. So I finally decided that yes, the guy was right. It is a big loop, and not only that, it looks like I am also controlling the laundry room temperature and possibly the the radiators on that particular level of the entryway, and then there's steps going up. So I assume that the second floor and the third floor works the same way, where those apartments are controlling temperature into those. And in reality, so there's no actual temperature control in those areas. They just supply heat, so it doesn't freeze or whatever. So other than that, I just simply my setup right now is I've got the ESP32 doing data logging. I got two of the Dallas sensors shoved into the two little radiators in the bathroom, and I so they every 10 seconds it goes out and says read the temperatures, and then there's actually a third. Dallas sensor just hanging over the box, so I can get the air temperature in the bathroom. And it just logs those three things to a file. And then at midnight every night it creates a new file just because of the way I designate the file name, and then I open and close the file every time. So it just automatically at midnight gives me a new file. So that if I don't touch it, just walk away from it, I'll end up with these files on the hard drive that are 24 hours long and one for each day of while it was running. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I didn't see anything real too spectacular. I analyzed a little bit, thought, boy, it sure would be nice to have outside temperature on the same graph. So at a glance, I know is it cold outside or hot outside, and then I can say, okay, that's why the system's working the way it is. And then it would also be nice to have a thermometer in my living room right next to my thermostat, so I know what the house temperature is. So that way you can watch it go up and down, and then you can predict when the thermostat would turn on or turn off. And right now, I just got a temperature in the bathroom, which is basically a little closed environment that's not telling me what's happening in the rest of the house. So there's other things I can do on that if I play around. And I still need to get the Wi-Fi working on these things, and then I can just stick these things anywhere with get the board and a little battery and just put it anywhere I want, and I'll just connect my Wi-Fi and log stuff. So that's still something I need to do, which I haven't done that yet. I don't think I've done anything else other than that. I just realized, all of a sudden, bam, the entire week was shot. It's time for the meeting again, and I don't even know what I've done last week. So I watched a lot of movies and stuff, but that's about the most I can say. So I guess that's all I'm going to say for this week. So I'll turn it over to somebody else.
Go ahead, Al.
Okay, let's find the share button here. Since we last spoke, I have a water pump I'm monitoring on how often it processes, and using some of my robotics radio NRF 24, actually lower radios, to help in that process. So I've got a daily summary being spit out and posted to something called NTFY. It is a zero cost way to post something both to the web and to my phone, and it's just been helpful. And all I've done at the moment is to keep track of how many times the pump comes on each day. When it comes on, it runs for about 70 seconds and pumps water to cows who are drinking it. Um, so 30-ish cows, 30 gallon more. I'm guessing, I haven't measured it, but it's a pure guess. I'm thinking 30 gallons per event. So they're putting down 300 gallons a day or so is what is interesting to me. And I'm noticing I've got one on the 5th and one on the 7th. I may have deleted the one on the 6th from my phone because I can look at it on my phone also. So I have to just double check to make sure I'm getting events every day. That's been sort of fun to get that working. What else did I post to Slack
That
here?
particular program you're just showing, how does it know to show your data and not somebody else's?
It's a subscriber sort of thing. So when you sign up, let me get back to it. Uh, you give like literally, I think you could go to this URL, rpi5al7625, and see what's going on with my data. So that is a unique URL. Um, I mean, here we'll just,
Okay,
oh,
the original page you showed didn't have that RPi5 thing on the end of it. So I just thought, well, if I go to that page, would it show me your stuff?
I
So
think
I didn't
so.
know how that was controlled.
Yeah, if I can get back to my, there's chat. Come on, chat. Ah, when I when I post, I get that. Paste and match style. Try that. Paste and match style. See if that works. I think it's all public domain. So, um, probably there's a paid thing that if you don't want it to be public domain, that's possible too. I also posted a video about a rabbit hole that I'm going down. I don't know how easily you could make this out, but this is a microscope connected to a camera. There's a little platform here, and this guy, Diffraction Limited, has created what he was referring to as an open source motorized XYZ micro manipulator. So, I mean, in the world of, I'm not a chemist or a guy who uses a microscope, but in their world, being able to move that around ever so slightly is a useful thing. And what I found intriguing is he has these, I think he's labeled them horns, but these sort of semicircle deals here, and I'll show you another picture here in a second. But he's got a magnetic encoder here, and he's using what I consider to be a very creative way to use those magnetic encoders and getting crazy levels of precision out of that. And by crazy, I mean this in a microscope is about as wide as a human hair, and he's showing that he can, repeatedly go back to these positions. So like whatever that is, a fifth of a human hair. Um, and although I don't need that kind of precision, you got to respect the guy for doing that. Um, and I think in the video I give a couple of, yeah, so this is the magnetic encoder, this MT6835, very cheap, 21 bits. And what that means is one revolution, typical revolution, they ship with these magnets. You put that magnet on there and you twirl it clockwise or counterclockwise over that integrated circuit. And one revolution is 2 million ticks.
Wow.
It's just insane. Um, but what he did, and I'm trying to get to that. Yeah, so this is the typical, you take that round magnet and you twist it clockwise or counterclockwise above that integrated circuit. I mean, that's like how normal humans um, use these things. And he somewhere along the way figured out, I'm scrolling forward, he can take a series of magnets, sort of, I'm going to call them normal cylindrical magnets um, with a north-south pole on them, line them up next to each other. And when you do this, they actually attract on these edges. And he monitors, like if you look here, you can sort of visualize, let's just say orange or red is north and green is south. So you get a north, south, north, south, north, south if you go along the bottom edge. And again, I haven't proven it, but, and I don't know what program he used to create this picture, but if you mount the encoder here, you get what looks like, the typical magnet. And you can see here's a picture of the magnet and the encoder, and here's the integrated circuit. So he's obviously, I think just in a genius manner figured out if you track the magnetic field here, you're able to, have a long list of magnets and use that to control. It's just another view of how he mounted it. This is another, he's got a Discord channel, and this guy did a 3D diagram of how he was mounting his. So there seems to be a little black magic in mounting that integrated circuit. Um, but then also while looking at his Discord channel, I saw somebody mention that, hey, they have these flexible magnetic tapes that are, the magnetic tape is in between two steel things, and it's a little bit flexible. And all of this is interesting to me because I'm thinking, hey, could in the in my lawn tractor there is, I call it a half moon gear where the steering is controlled. Is it possible to somehow use this? And I had tried to hook up a Pico first time using a Raspberry Pi Pico 2 board. Basically, I think it's like well, this one with Wi-Fi would remind you of an ESP32, but anyway, that didn't work. So I went back and attached this MT motor or encoder to a Nano and got it to work. So I've relearned how to, Bob, I told you before, I don't know much, but I relearned lots of things over and over and over again. I've sort of relearned how to use a magnetic encoder and get it to work with a Nano. And what's different this time is I'm using SPI to communicate. This encoder uses SPI to communicate, and historically I'd used I2C, so that's new. And this encoder does 2 million ticks a revolution instead of, I think the last one was like 65,000 ticks. The other thing going on in my world is I'm messing around with a oscilloscope I bought used on an auction, $325, didn't work, 4 channel, super fast, 20-year-old oscilloscope. And following some of the groups on the internet, they say, hey, these capacitors probably went bad. So I ordered capacitors, in the process of putting the capacitors on, and hopefully by the end of the day, we'll know whether that fixed my problem or not. That's what's going on in my world.
On that oscilloscope, do you have a way to back up that hard drive? And once the whole system's running, do you have a way to make an exact copy of that? Or is there somewhere out on the internet you can say, give me the entire stuff to load onto a new hard drive?
Uh, I don't have the ability to back it up, like a bit for bit clone that I know of, because it's an older physical connection deal. But with the oscilloscope, it came with a recovery disk. So um, if the current hard drive is bad, which I haven't, I don't know one way or the other. I did buy a compact flash drive and adapter to replace it, and my hope would be that recovery disk, it boots to that recovery disk. But all of that's in front of me, not behind me.
Is that do you know what the size of that current hard drive is that's in it? Being that old, I don't assume it's huge, but
I don't, not off the top of my head. I don't know if it was in the picture that I took or not. I can look it up. The compact flash they suggested, don't get some huge compact flash. So I only got a 4 gigabyte compact flash to put in the adapter. Call it, what is it, a SATA adapter? So it's not none of us would think it's a big hard drive. I'm just scrolling through some of my photos here on my phone here. Come on now. Actually, I just took it out to get the motherboard out. So when Bob's talking, I'll walk over and grab it and see what size it is. It's an IBM. IBM. This is like going way back. IBM Star or something. Oh, here it is. Travel Star. Um, 5 gigabytes. No, 10 gigabytes. Wow. Maybe I got the wrong compact flash. 10 gigabytes.
I was just thinking somewhere I probably have a whole box of old hard drives that of course, nobody is going to want, but they might be exactly what you need for that thing. So when I think about it, I'll walk over and grab my box of hard drives. Some are like some brand new ones, but they're very small hard drives, and I can't remember what they are.
IBM Travel Star 4200 RPM. It's got a HP Agilent Technologies date of February 28th, 2003. Is that a leap year? Anyway, it's fun. Keeps me out of trouble. We'll see if it works.
Does that have the display is right on the front of the oscilloscope, isn't it? And is that a CRT or an LCD that's on there?
Um,
Or
Pass, I don't.
am I
th-
confused?
There is a display on the front. It's touch screen. I don't know if it's technically a CRT or an else the else what did you say, LCD?
LCD.
I don't know which one it is.
Okay.
It also will drive an external monitor, which I have hooked up, which I found quite useful because I think in wherever it sat, they left it on for a long time. So the monitor is, or the LCD is, if it is an LCD, is imprinted with some shadows.
So it burned the display.
Well, when you say burned, I can still see everything as it's scrolling on there, but you
Oh,
definitely see a shadow of a cloud.
oh,
Does that come from just leaving it on too long, or does that come from a fault?
well,
Probably leaving it on too long, but it could be anything at this point.
Okay, Bob, tell us about your supercomputer.
um, well, I got the stereo camera working, despite myself. Um, and then I got focused on the IMU that's on the board. And first, chat led me down the path, a wrong path, that the IMU was a standalone board, but eventually got it straightened out. Um, maybe I could go through some of that stuff. I'll share screen, start the broadcast. Um, okay, now I'm sharing. Okay, I'll just go to pictures. Um, I'm at the end of them, so I'll go up to the front first. Um, I've got a double stack of servos upside down, and they offset each other just enough to put a wood block between them, so that the center of the camera, the center of the stereo camera, kind of lines up with the logic camera if they're both if they're both pointing straight ahead. Um, and I decided to use them both so I can get a little bit of movement on the camera, but a much wider survey using the Logic camera. There's close up, and on the Logic camera, it's got the SDA, SCL, init, and I didn't actually know what those other two pins were for, but chat helped explain it. It's for synchronizing. So I
What
can't.
camera took this picture? I mean, you can literally see the letters on the daggone
Yeah,
chip.
yeah. This is with my iPad
Wow.
that I zoomed in with. Um, there you can see the board. And then I got reading on Wi-Fi modules. What is a better one? And some research said that the Intel board is better, and definitely exterior antennas are better, maybe 2 or 3 times the gain. This is the Intel. Of course, everything's made in China. And
So your Nano board, that Nvidia board doesn't have Wi-Fi natively. You've got to.
it does have it. Um, this is the underside. This is the Wi-Fi that came with it,
Oh,
and you can see the internal antennas. And I read that you have to be kind of careful how you position it because um, it may not be good enough for you. So that's why I decided to look into the exterior. And from what I read, this one was supposed to be better. Let's see what else have we got here. So I'll be swapping out the one that came with it for the Intel up above. Earlier, Jeff asked, how did I drill through the thin metal? I just put a block of wood behind it and just very easily or very gently kind of drilled into it so it wouldn't catch. So that's big enough to hold the external antennas. Let's see.
scroll to the. You had two other open ports on the underside of your. Yeah, keep going.
Let's see.
One more.
One more.
Nope. One more.
Oh, there we
One
go.
more. One more.
One more.
No. You're good right there.
Okay.
Those two. I'm going to call them ports or slots on the bottom there. Are those?
Those are for add-on boards, like a terabyte solid state drive.
Nice.
And then I forget what the smaller one is for.
As you look at those, you can see the two connectors at the bottom, and then straight up, there's a place you can put a screw in, and then the one on the left, way
Right.
up the top of the one. So you can put a long board in there and screw it down, or put a short board and
Yep.
screw it down.
And
Kind of the same way that radio is mounted.
yeah. So
Wow.
the only problem with me trying to change things is that outer frame sits flush. So I'll have to raise that up a little bit in order to bring the wires out or the antenna wires out. But that shouldn't be a big deal.
And how does this thing, is there a boot disk? Is there a boot chip? What is there, when you get it out of the box, is there some sort of solid state drive already in it? Or
No, I think everything's on the card. You flash a card and then put it in, and then it boots up.
so you get a small SD card?
Yeah, let's see. I can't see it there. Let's see.
That's okay, Bob. But I
Yeah,
mean, I can look it
yeah.
up on the internet.
There's a small one. So let me get back to let's see if I can find my chat.
And while he's digging for that, I'll point out, I think the original Jetson Nano that came out had a flash chip soldered right down to the board. So you had to use whatever they gave you. That's the only size you could get. And then
Oh,
somewhere along the line, I think it switched over to the micro SD flash card. So it's just like the Raspberry Pi. You put your stuff on that, put the thing in, you can boot from that. And when you run out of space, you can just, put a bigger one in or whatever. So it's a little more flexible on that.
Nice.
okay. This file is where it helped me set up the camera. The only thing I don't like about this is you always have to scroll to the top to begin. So my question is, how do I install and make it operational? And I said, this is what you need for hardware, system software, how to connect, how to enable, and the program is Jetson IO Pi, Python program. And it led me through detecting the cameras. And you have to use G-Stream. Says troubleshooting. Then the summary, just do this. And then I think I had some errors, so I just basically copied everything off the terminal here and plugged it in, and then it diagnosed it, saying the camera's good, why this happens. And here, Jetpack 6 removed something called this N overlay sync. Oops. Sorry, I'm not. Let's see. So, oh, I must have. Okay. And then they say, okay, let's just do a simple test. And this one piece of code where it says display equals. Well, I did that for both of them, and I was getting error messages. So right at the end of the conversation, it suggested this is what I should do. But then I entered in the error at the end of that conversation saying, well, I'm getting this. And then it explains that it removed an overlay sync, and it literally isn't there. And then it says they recommend this stuff, use these correct working commands. What I found was why they changed it, because they wanted to go with this Wayland-friendly rendering. There's nothing wrong with my setup, which that was comforting. And then it recommends these are the next steps. And let's see, I got a error message, so I typed that in, or copied and pasted, and it says nothing is broken. It's just an environmental detail. Why the stuff wasn't found, correct way to test, most likely does not include that sync by default, and do include this. He said this should work. If that fails, so here it gave me a camera's okay, driver's okay, ready for open, and all this other stuff. So I ran that, and there was the next step. And when I got to the end of this little discussion, I was getting error messages. So again, I just copied and pasted, and it diagnosed it. It's not the camera's fault. What I had done was when I copied that line above, I wasn't very careful, and it captured the bracket 200 squiggly in a display, and it explained what that was. It's let's see. Oh, come on, where am I? Oh, I had inadvertently copied a bracket. And so then it gave a recommendation, just turn that off. So if I get sloppy again, trying to copy that line or highlighting the line, hopefully I don't get all the hidden characters. And then the next error was this thing on the right, and it diagnoses it. What it actually means, everything is okay except no active. You're not running inside an active graphical session. So here's some fixes. Confirm you have whether it works or not. Quick verification. So what we've proven so far is everything seems to be working. It's not a camera problem anymore. It's display plumbing. So then it says, do this. Then I got another error message and say, basically, what the hell am I looking at? And it was quite long. And it said it would break it down. This is what was wrong. It's not registered with the Argus camera service, and I didn't know what that was. So after this conversation, I put together a list of vocabulary I didn't understand. And
So the IMX 219-83, which camera is that?
that's a stereo camera.
Got it.
And then explains why cameras weren't available. Let's see. And then it goes through, and evidently it just set up a device tree for one camera, not both of them. And so they say, go back into the menu and pick which camera I'm using, which I took the Dash 83 stereo. After reboot, do this and this, expect to see that. If you don't see anything, then there's a problem. But let's see, what happens sometimes Argus gets stuck. I didn't know what Argus is, so I added that to my vocabulary list. Use the correct test commands and start. And why this happens with this board is that there's dual lanes, a stereo device tree, not just a single one, and the correct port pairing. And then it said, this is what I need from you. Do this, output this. Then I said, well, I don't see what you just told me. This is what I see. Video 0, video 1, 2, and 3. And I didn't understand that. So what this means is there's like 4 ports. It sees the cameras, they're loaded, everything is okay. And it's not because the cameras are missing. It's, again, Argus is failing to claim them. Let's see. This is a typical behavior for Jetpack 6 in this camera. So it said, run this. So I ran the GST-launch for each one of those video reports. And 2 should, let's see, go on for fixing left, right patch. And it sees this, 3 and 4. So once I got that, it came in. I only see one video, and it's at the 3rd test, which was here. So I ran the test for each line, and there was no video except for video 2. I didn't know what that meant. And this is where it tells me at least one sensor is streaming. They're not both registered correctly. Why does this happen? Because of this. So now it leaves me in more diagnosis. Which one is not being used or is used? So it goes through and verify the graph, check the I2C. I should see 2 devices. So 0 times 10 and 11, those are the cameras. 3 possible fixes. What do I do next? This. And then again, I put in what I saw on the terminal. And it's quite a long list of stuff. And then it says this is the main problem, which is good news. I do have two sensors detected at kernel level, and it shows what this stuff proves. Um, one camera is video 0, the other camera is video 1. And why I saw all this other confusing stuff is 0 and 1 captures the raw visual stuff, and then 2 and 3 are process nodes. So the correct way to test both was this and this. And why this says no cameras available, the kernel and this program V, that's okay. Argus isn't registering the stereo, and this is a limitation to Jetpack 6. What you do right now, use this, and I've added that V4L2 to my list of vocabulary to find out what that is. And there's an open stereo summary. So now everything seems to be working okay. My issue was raw versus ISP nodes, not missing cameras. So it said, here's what I can do to help. And here's where I said the nomenclature I didn't understand. So I said, what is Argus? Blah, blah, blah. Great question. And Argus is their proprietary camera framework. It talks to the cameras, where you see it, why it failed. And then again, the next term was, what is this thing? It's an old display sync. And I didn't know what sync was and why it's gone, because they removed and moved towards Wayland compatibility. This one was removed, so there's nothing wrong with their system. It's just depreciated. And then I said, well, what is this? And so it came back and said, it's a kernel level, talks to the camera hardware, what it does, exposes why it worked for me. Here's why, how they stack together. And this is where I was having a hard time understanding all the different layers, what comes with what. So that it did a nice job laying it out. What I was saying was, excuse me, in 0 and 1 was the raw video, and this the other ones were for processing. And then what surprised me, it came back and said, this is what I should use for nanobot, which I had referred to my my robot as the nanobot, because so for it said this is why it's benefit. One sentence summary again of the vocabulary. If I want, they said they could do this for me and just say what's next. And here I ask, what is a sync? And it's the end of a data pipeline. It consumes all the data, but does not pass it on. So there's a sync for a lot of things. Let's see, there's display syncs, file syncs, network syncs, audio syncs. Syncs explains syncs versus sources. Why syncs matter. Let's see, in one sentence, the endpoint of a data pipeline. And that's where I'm at. So at this point, my stereo camera is working and I can see the image on the monitor, but it looks like any other video signal. At this point, you can't tell if it was stereo or web. And I said, well, that's okay. At least now I've got a unit that works for web camera and one for stereo. And then I said, well, I'll look at the IMU that's on the board. And it said, what exactly does that mean? And all that stuff. How do I implement it? It only has 4 wires. And here it led me down the wrong path for a while. 1 and 2, and it says 1 and 2, and that's wrong. But the board or the chat is thinking I'm using a standalone IMU board, which would have that stuff on it. So then it came down here, and as there's no power or ground wires. One of the terminals is for sync. And then it corrected itself. And what that really means, it has an optional sync, an F sync C. And what that is, those two are for timing and making sure that it connects with the camera frames. They've got a better answer for it. Yeah, here you go. It time aligns with the frames. So without that, your IMU data may not match exactly with the frame that's been captured. So there's some mismatch. And of course it says, don't do these dumb things. Why it's confusing. And then it suggests, well, I can do this for if you want to go into ROS or these other things. And I want to avoid ROS at this point. And it says, explain how those two things work. It's an additional pulse, use a time align. Goal is precise timestamp alignment between the IMUs and the video frames. And without it, here's the problems. And for SLAM, a millisecond error can turn into centimeters adrift. Let's see. Here's 2 possible ways I can fix this. And the camera's timing is the timing master. Camera is generated. What happens if it's not connected and its precise frame alignment is off? Latency is a little off, and the SLAM accuracy is off. And why it doesn't use it? Why is a single wire mental model? My practical advice, which I like. I probably don't need it if I'm just doing a teleoperation. I should use it if I do those 4 things. But eventually I might. And next it explains how I can use ROS. And I said, well, configure for SLAM and visual odometry. And comes up here, hardware requirements, how to bring up the IMU. let's see, correct hardware, accurate to get accurate timestamps, coordinate frames. Then it'll come into something called caliber. And it shows how it can be used in a ROS2 configuration. And these are the expectations. It could be used in um, Nvidia's robot program for ROS is called Isaac. But from what I've heard of or read about Isaac, it needs more than what I have. It needs the next level up. An Nvidia Nano Thor, I guess is the next model up. Yeah, but it does make recommendations. That the key insights, and if you want, this is where it says you can walk me through this caliber and all this stuff. Just tell me what you want to do. And I said, well, okay, explain. And I mistyped caliber and said, oh, here you go. You mean this thing, not what you did. So it's a toolbox that learns the exact stuff, why it's necessary, what it actually computes, estimates the noise, camera rotation, translation, how it works. First, you use a checkerboard, which I have, and you focus on that. And what it needs is this stuff here. Inputs that you must provide, and like ROS bag and the stuff. And I'm not ready for that. And this is how it applies. Why they say it's hard, it's not. Practical recommendation is when I'm ready for accurate SLAM, then I want to do this. And then it said it'll walk me through these things. And at this point, I stopped and said, okay, I've got stereo, and I'll implement the IMU, but not go through caliber and sync it to the frames, because I'm just doing a tele operation. And I think that's it for this. Let's see, I'll go back. And so now I'll stop sharing. So now I'll swap out the Wi-Fi modules and hook that up. And then I'll hook up the Raspberry Pi and activate the servos and play around with that. And eventually get the teleoperation. I'll probably have to go through WebRTC, and instead of beating my head using the iPad as a display or remote terminal, I'll go to my Lenovo laptop and use that as a station. If that works, then I might turn around and spend time on trying to get the iPad to work.
So at this moment, is your camera publishing a web page that you can access from your local LAN?
Not yet, but that's the way I want to go. So you just log on or just call up the web page on the laptop, and I'll be able to see it. That's the end goal. That's going to take me quite a while, but anyway.
Well, if it makes it any easier, a few weeks ago I sent you that script and code just to use a USB
Yeah,
camera to do that. So
yeah. So I'll
some,
be using some of that as well.
sometimes if you take out the complex things and start it
Yeah.
simple, then it's a little bit easier.
So learning quite a bit. I got to be more careful with the keyboard.
Don't release any of that magic smoke.
No, that's all I got for now.
Cool. I like it.
Yeah, it's I'm
Looks
I'm happy and I'm making progress.
that thing looks
Oh,
super
that's pro-
powerful. Did either of you guys try to click that link I put in the chat just to see if you could see that?
um, chat.
You know, it might ask you to start an account. That might be.
Oh,
I clicked on the link and it ignored me. So I don't know if that's again because I just reloaded Zoom and it works differently now or what. Let me see if I can say copy the link
yeah.
and then say I'll say paste it into a browser.
I just clicked on it and it came up with your January 8th pump boot summary for.
No, it didn't ask you to start an account.
I hope not.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
mine says you haven't received any notification for this topic yet.
Oh,
So I don't know.
it says mine says sign in or sign up.
But it pulled up the data.
Yeah,
Share your screen.
no. Let's see. Oh, yeah, it's asking to sign up.
Well, if you got the boot summary though,
Oh, okay. Let me. I'll share the screen. Um, okay. Come on. 2 1 0. Up. Where'd it go? I
you're
don't know where
sharing
it went.
you're sharing your screen. Open up the browser.
Um, okay. Yeah, there it is.
X that.
Yeah. So
X,
all it did was it.
there's an X for that screen. Can you X that or cancel? Just click
Um,
cancel just to the left of where
oh,
your cursor is.
yeah, there it is. Okay, that's all I see.
Yeah, so it lets you get to that without what's interesting is it doesn't have the history, it just has one.
Yeah, but it says there were like 14 events on that. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that just means the pump turned on 14 times in 24 hours.
Okay, and how many cows do you think were drinking?
35.
35, and they drank 300 gallon?
That's my guess, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about is ultimately I'll I'll get better data instead of just a guess on 30 gallons per pump event. Um,
Were those 30 cows, or were they pairs or heifers or just 30 individuals?
it's, I mean, say 35 cows total. Some of those are calves.
Okay. Okay.
So it's a mixture of calves, heifers, and bull.
Oh, okay. I'm
That'd
just
be
I'm interested in cattle because I was an animal science major in school.
that'd be 12 gallons per animal,
Yeah.
and 14 seems to be on the high side. It's normally about 11.
Well, it's a good sign anyway.
So, yeah. Anyway, I'll next time I'm there, I'll get a better estimate of how many gallons get pumped in one pump event. That's all for me today, boys.
Yeah, same here.
Speaking of your pump, you know the size of your tank, so it's going to turn on until it fills that tank. Is there, can you use that somehow to know, by how long it runs, and that your tank holds say 20 gallons or 30 gallons or whatever. So if it runs for 5 seconds, good. Does that tell you anything or?
In these, it's not like they drink it to the bottom and then it comes back and fills up. Then there's three or four tanks that they might, or watering troughs, and each trough has I'll call it a trickle feed. So there's a float
Yeah,
in a mechanical float in the trough. It's at the top and it keeps the water level here. If the float comes down, then it opens up a valve and then the water level
yeah,
comes back. So it's sort of, you would, you might use the term trickle feeder
yeah,
to I'd have to look up on Tractor Supply what it actually
yeah. We used a lot of those on our hobby farm.
I was thinking of something more fundamental than that. I'm talking the pump itself, and the pump, actually, the pump runs on pressure, I assume. So the pressure gets down to a certain point, the motor turns on and it's going to pump a certain amount of water into your tank and bring the pressure back up. I just thinking, knowing the size of the tank on your pump itself, and then how
oh
long it runs may give you an estimate of how many gallons it takes to fill that tank back up to the point where it's like, because it's going to fill it to a certain point, and then the more you push in, then your pressure goes up. But I don't know if that will tell you.
yeah, there might be some physics there. It's a 60-gallon tank. It it comes on at 40 pounds and turns off at like 62 pounds.
And I think the way those work, don't those have like an air bladder at the top of the tank? So you're
It
actually
does.
Yeah,
pushing against that. And I don't know if that,
yeah,
again, I don't know. You have to do some research and some experiments to see if you can determine that. And I don't know what it takes to get like an actual like a water flow meter, so you could just put that in series with something and actually measure
yeah.
how much that's doing. But
That would probably have to be the way to go.
I was just going to get a big bucket or another empty water trough and get the pump at the top, empty out that trough, turn the pump on, or fill up the trough and see how long before it kicks on the pump when it gets down to 40 pounds. But it's just a guess. There's probably a more scientific way to do it.
Hmm.
any kind of data logging you're doing, you start and say, well, I think I want to try this. You go try it and see if it gives you the results you expect. And if not, then you have to figure out why is that not working? And then what more information do I need to make that work? So you're at that point now of how do you actually know how much water you're moving by doing that? So
What I really want to do is get rid of the daggone armadillos that keep digging up the yard, but that's a whole nother kettle of fish.
Well, like I said, put a 22 on that tractor.
Yeah, well, Bob, you build it and I will use it. So
is there any kind of animal that likes to track down armadillos? Yeah,
I
and the
don't.
reason I ask that is you can go watch on YouTube, and they have YouTube videos of like a rat infested farm, a rat infested building, and they bring in like one, I think it's a mink, and then a bunch of dogs. And the mink will drag the foxes out, or drag the rats out, and the dogs will chew them up, and that seems to work very well to do that. But you don't want to get in the situation. You hear the old stories about, oh, they're having problems with this kind of animals. They got like they're having problems with mice, so they got a cat to take care of the mice, and they're overrun with cats, and they got dogs, and the dogs, they're overrun with dogs. They got the point where they get an elephant for some reason, and then to get rid of the elephants, they introduce mice because the elephants don't like the mice. So they had this big circular thing about trying to modify their environment. And I can't remember what that story is, but that's an old story that's been around forever. But if you get something that likes to that likes to I say likes armadillos, likes to eat them or just be mean to them, whatever. Maybe just to keep them chased away.
Yeah, I think
And
if my dogs were outside at 3 o'clock in the morning when they like to tear up the yard, they would definitely chase them.
that could be if you just chase them off, So if rather than putting a gun on the thing, you just have something that knows where they are and just constantly all night chases them around. They're going to finally get tired and say, let's just move over to this other guy. Let's go across the fence to this other guy's place and bother them. So that might be another way around that.
Yeah, put a bullhorn on your rover.
You got all kinds of, like I said, Bob, you build it, we can run it. I mean, I'll even hook up Wi-Fi so you can run it from Minnesota.
I shine in my what do you call it? My lack of knowledge.
No, we can do it. It just takes time. Has been my experience.
Yeah.
They also have one of the robot companies. I think it's a company that's here in Minneapolis. People say, "Oh, can you chase the geese out of my yard?" So they have these robots that visually can see the geese, and they just drive at them until the geese run away or fly off or whatever. So that's another thing. That's like going back to the concept of just harass them all night, and maybe they'll eventually leave. But
But it
I
around to attack you.
we don't have our armadillos around here, so I don't know how they act or what they do
Yeah.
or anything. I just, see pictures of them occasionally, and I hear you don't want to hit one with your motorcycle because that can ruin your day right there. So they'll sit out on the road in the middle of the night, and if you hit them with your motorcycle, that's like hitting a brick. So
The next time you see that robot that's chasing geese, I'd like to see that because it would just be programming to get it to chase armadillos.
yeah, so you probably ideally you'd want to have some kind of visual thing to know that it's an armadillo, but just anything is out there to chase it. I suppose that'd be fun too. So. So they have some laws. I think, at least in Minnesota, you can't harass the deer too much. You can't go out and chase. You can't chase the deer out of your cornfields because then the DNR will be on you. Say, oh, you can't do that. And so you have to be careful of that too. But and depending on how much people like armadillos in Texas, it could be that nobody
Yeah.
cares.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to have many, maybe surprised, but not many PETA people out supporting armadillos that carry leprosy.
Let's do this. Since you said if I could find that, let's say she's geese with robot. And so I don't remember what these robots were, but they were just making these robots, just general purpose things to sell to people. Let's see, goose busting drone. Well, this is something that's flying around and harassing them. Chase geese robot George. So if you just go to here, I'll just put this up as a starting point. We'll copy. How do I get to my chat? And then say paste that. No, this will be another experiment on the chat to see if anybody can open it or not. And this just simply took those words I had and somewhere they're going to show
Yep.
show their yard with geese, and then they're going to show the robot chasing it around. So, and that'll lead you back to the company that was doing it. And I
Yeah.
can't remember what the name it was, but I think it was just a company that's local here in Minneapolis that was doing that. And it's just simply they stumble on it because the guy says, "Hey, could you chase geese with your robots?" He says, "Oh, let's try it." They apparently got it to work. So
Yeah, I can see a lot of videos.
I'm scrolling down through the videos, but
there's one called Goose Chase. That's just people chasing geese around. So do you have two sets of dogs? Do you have a set that lives in Texas and one that lives with you where you're at, or
no, just one set.
because you could just get a set of dogs in Texas just to but that brings up more problems. If they're bored, they're going to be running all over the county and bothering everybody. That's how I lost a dog one time because the dog thought it was funny to go over to the neighbor's place and chase their pigs, and the farmer didn't care for that. So we lost one of the dogs because of that. So anyway, that's just a concept. Somebody said, "Oh, let's chase geese with a robot." So, and I don't know if there's any stories about if the DNR came back and gave them crap for that. So I don't know. Okay, so let me save my chat. And so I still don't know why I can't just click on the links that Al posted and have it open it. It just ignores me. But if I copy and paste it, it brings up the page. It didn't show me his actual notifications. I didn't look at it hard enough to see why. It just said you have no notifications yet, and it could be that if when the next one comes around, then somehow it might have automatically registered me, so it would show up. But I don't know. So anyway, we can look at that later, I guess. And that's all I got. Anybody got anything else?
All set.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Do this.